Right now on the National Weather Desk, dangerous weather. Millions are under risk of tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds today. We'll show you the threats and where the storms are heading next. Crumbling highway. A key road along the California coast falls into the ocean. Tornado outbreak. A look back on one of the largest and deadliest rashes of storms in American history.
Produced 148 confirmed tornadoes.
Eclipse flight. What would it be like to witness next week's total solar eclipse from an airplane?
Is the flight path going to be determined also by that totality path?
If you go to Texas for the eclipse, you also catch the bluebonnet SUPERBLOOM.
This year, I'm predicting we're about an 8.
Plus, why is this the time of year you really have to be bear aware?
Keeping them away as much as possible is just as important for them as it is for us.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Mark Pena. More than 50 million Americans are under threats of severe weather today, with the risk of large hail, tornadoes, and damaging winds. Among the cities at risk are Dallas, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri. This morning, both places are quiet, but it may not be that way later today. The Storm Prediction Center has placed those cities and everyone else from North Texas to western Indiana under a level 3 out of 5 risk. But as you can see, the overall risk is even wider, so everyone in this area needs to stay aware this afternoon and tonight. Tomorrow, the risk shifts east to the Tennessee Valley, and by Wednesday, the system will bring heavy rain to the mid-Atlantic and snow to New England. And before the storm moved east, it brought snow and rain to California. More than 2 inches of rain fell across Los Angeles and Orange counties. The mountains of Southern California saw more than a foot of snow, while even more fell in the mountains of the Northern California mountains. And in Monterey County, 40 miles of the famed Highway 1 are closed following a landslide. This county emergency management says the southbound lanes are gone. As many as 2,000 tourists residents were trapped by the closure. Local officials led convoys on Sunday to help people get past the area. The efforts will continue today. All Big Sur parks in that area are also closed until further notice. As those severe storms move across the country, it's important for everyone to be aware of the life-threatening dangers changing weather conditions can bring. Meteorologist Garrett Haid has information to help you be ready.
Something worth noting, too, is those differences between watches, warnings. Keep in mind, watches always mean that conditions are favorable versus warnings are when things are ongoing. You can kind of think of it like a pizza, if you're making one at least. All your ingredients are set and ready to go. That's a watch versus everything's all cooked and on the table. That is where we'll see those warnings if you want to think about it that way. But overall, what does qualify as severe is anything with winds of above about 60 or so miles per hour, hail larger than about 1 inch in diameter, and of course, a tornado. But of course, those big things to keep safe, at least when these things do occur, is make sure you are indoors, staying away from the external portions of a house or anything like that, and be sure to stay up to date on all the important weather information while the event is ongoing.
The nation's weather will soon be impacted by the apparent change from the El Nino climate pattern to La Nina. That includes temperatures, precipitation, even hurricane season. Meteorologist David Glenn explains.
I'm meteorologist David Glenn. Earlier this month, the National Weather Service issued a La Nina watch as we transition from El Nino conditions to La Nina conditions. Overall, a little over a 62% chance of that occurring, especially as we enter the summer months, and could have a potential impact on the upcoming hurricane season. Now, what this means as far as the La Nina is instead of having the warm waters off the coast of South America pushing into the equatorial Pacific, like we have for most of 2023 and early parts of 24, well, now the trade winds are a little stronger and upwelling occurs. And you got the cooler water now off the coast of South America, and that could have global impacts. For example, when you get into the hurricane season in those tropical breeding ground areas of the Caribbean and tropical Atlantic, it can lead to weaker wind shear, which helps promote hurricane activity. So that could be the first signs of developing La Nina, especially June through August. And also by the time you get to August, if you look at the climatology of the peak time of hurricane season, August to October is that peak period of the season.
And while people in Texas prepare for next week's total solar eclipse, right now they are enjoying an annual event some believe is just as breathtaking. We're talking about the bluebonnet SUPERBLOOM. Meteorologist Chicago Windler is there.
This field here in Fredericksburg, Texas is part of the world's largest working wildflower farm. And the bluebonnets are having a banner season.
I've seen a 10 and I've seen a 2, but this year I'm predicting we're about an 8.
John Thomas knows a thing or two about farming.
I'm a 4th generation farmer and I love to grow things.
Especially bluebonnets.
It's very risky, it's very hard to do, but that's my challenge, and I've been doing it for 54 years.
It's all about getting the right weather at the right time.
We want a hot, dry summer. I think we can check that box last summer. And a cold, wet winter preceded by some fall rains in like October, November. Got a little dry on us around December, but thank goodness around latter part of February, 1st of March, we started getting some showers.
And March showers are bringing all the flowers at the perfect time for crowds here at Wild Seed Farms, the Thomas family's business.
It's the flowers and the butterflies.
5-year-old Avery and her mom Soka like the farm's red poppies, but they love the bluebonnets.
I think the color, it's, the Texas flower, and we're here in Texas, so I just love it.
And they're also a photographer's dream.
I have taken some pictures where places are just covered with them, and it's fun to find them, but they're really good to see here.
The more blooms, the more seed. So we will harvest this in about a month and a half and collect seed off of this big field and process the seed, bag the seed, and sell the seed.
Here's what the harvest looks like as a big combine combs through the field. About half the seed is harvested, with the other half dropping back into the field for future years.
It depends on the year, but we produce anywhere from 50 to 60, 70,000 pounds of bluebonnet seed.
That's more than anyone else in the world.
Well, we tell everybody that Texas, we put on the largest flower show on earth in April.
So come for the eclipse and stay for the flowers.
And one thing you can't tell from that, the bluebonnets smell amazing. Flowers aren't the only thing emerging in spring, though. As temperatures rise, bears start coming out of their dens. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau looks at what you need to do to be bear aware and stay safe.
That's right, it's bear season. And with that comes some spring chores you might not have thought about.
You'll just want to remove really anything that might be food for a bear, and that looks like bird feeders. So we say bird feeders a lot because the average bird feeder holds about 19,000 calories worth of bird seed, and that's like the calorie jackpot for a hungry black bear.
And that's not all. Any food source can lead you to an unwanted bear encounter if you're not careful.
We're getting into picnic season, grilling season, so we're pulling our grills out for the first time. We're starting to cook outdoors a little bit. If you leave those kinds of messes outside, wildlife in general, it might not be a bear, but a raccoon, a skunk, a possum, they may also be interested in some of those spillings from your barbecue, and so it can bring some of these critters closer to your home.
In the face of such a strong animal, it's easy to think of self-protection. But sometimes we forget that keeping them away as much as possible is just as important for them as it is for us.
They can lose their fear of people. They can become reliant on humans for that food source. And that can lead to really poor outcomes for the bear, often relocation or worse, because they can start to cause property damage. They start to feel too comfortable around humans. And it often is bad news for that bear.
Now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. Let's start along the western shores of Lake Michigan in Milwaukee. It won't feel very spring-like on this first day of April. Morning sun will give way to clouds with some rain this afternoon with highs in the lower 40s. Next we head east to North Carolina's Outer Banks. This is Pine Knoll Shores, which is near Morehead City. Partly cloudy skies this morning will turn overcast this afternoon. Highs will be in the low 70s. Next, we turn to Clearwater, Florida along the Gulf Coast. There should be plenty of sun and a great day to hit the beach. High temperatures will be in the low 80s. And we end our tour in the city of brotherly love as seen from across the Delaware River. Philadelphia is looking at a rainy day this Monday with a high of just about 52 degrees. And check this out, this supercell developed last night north of Springfield, Illinois. It reportedly dumped large hail on Decatur. A viewer sent this photo to meteorologist Nick Patrick at our Springfield station. Quite an impressive picture. Thanks for sending that. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, what would it be like to watch the eclipse from a plane flying through the path of totality? And we'll look back at one of the worst tornado outbreaks in U.S. history that happened 50 years ago this week.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn with a look at the Northeast as we head through the day on Monday. We are going to see mainly dry conditions across the Northeast, maybe some rain down towards the mid-Atlantic, and then you'll notice a rain or snow shower possible up towards northern New England Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then we have a system passing through the area on Tuesday. Notice the mid-Atlantic and southern New England could likely see some rain as we head through the day on Tuesday. High temperatures tomorrow in the 50s across most areas.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We'll start the day with rain across much of the region as a warm front lifts north. Then as we head into the afternoon, we'll start to see a drier pattern, but that is going to be temporary as rain returns overnight, continuing into Tuesday. There could even be a few storms. Temperatures as we head into the afternoon rise to the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s. Then overnight, we're in for a mild cool down.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. It looks like we're going to see a hot one in Nashville, 82 degrees, 81 in Atlanta, looking at Macon, Georgia at 82 degrees, Raleigh, 85, a little warm there, Jacksonville, 85 degrees. We're looking at 81 West Palm. A little bit of scattered clouds across the area, a few spotty showers up around the D.C. metro and northern Virginia. Looks like as the afternoon goes on, a little bit of sun through the afternoon through Florida and Georgia, heavier storms up across northern Virginia, and then the next front moves in towards Wednesday, Thursday.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This week marks the 50th anniversary of a massive tornado outbreak impacting 13 U.S. states. It is one of the largest tornado outbreaks on record for a single 24-hour period. Meteorologist John Gum explains what happened.
On April 3rd and 4th, 1974, we saw an outbreak of tornadoes that has only been eclipsed by the pure number of tornadoes one other time, and that was in 2011. This outbreak produced the second most largest number of tornadoes on record, but it is also considered to be the most violent tornado outbreak on record as well. The super outbreak of 1974 produced 148 confirmed tornadoes. Many of those tornadoes were violent tornadoes. Sadly, 319 people lost their lives to these tornadoes. Thousands upon thousands of people were injured by these tornadoes. And yes, the most violent outbreak of tornadoes ever, because there were 30 violent F4 and F5 tornadoes that were confirmed in this outbreak. The amount of damage, just staggering. In today's dollars, $5.26 billion of damage was caused by this outbreak. It is historic, definitely one of the worst tornado outbreaks in history. Thankfully, today, we've got improved technology. We have Doppler radar, which can see the winds inside of these storms and can begin to detect tornadoes before they even develop. Dual polarization Doppler radar also helps us to detect debris being lofted by tornadoes, so we can even confirm a tornado via radar now. Back in 1974, that type of technology was just a dream. Yes, a historic outbreak of tornadoes here back in 1974, 50 years ago, one that continues to go down in the history books.
And yesterday and today also marked 1 year since a tornado outbreak impacted 28 million people in the Mississippi Valley. This was just one of the 146 tornadoes that touched down over those 2 days. Little Rock meteorologist James Bryant posted this viewer video on his Facebook page. This twister likely contributed to the loss of 10,000 trees in nearby Burns Park. And we continue our countdown to the solar eclipse across America just 1 week from today. While millions of people flock to the path of totality, cloud cover could make the eclipse viewing a challenge. This is the latest cloud cover forecast from the American model known as the GFS. For now, clouds could still be an issue across much of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, as well as western New York during totality. But remember, this is a forecast that will likely change. We will continue to update this forecast until the eclipse. And of course, if you are above the clouds, the view of the eclipse will be perfectly clear. That's one reason numerous airlines have strategically planned flights that will travel through the path of totality, offering passengers a front row experience. Emily Gracie spoke to Southwest Airlines chief meteorologist to find out how pilots are preparing to provide passengers with the ride of a lifetime.
The flights that we have going through the path of totality were already scheduled flights, and we just kind of highlighted some of those that we have that will be in that path that have a pretty good chance of seeing the eclipse when it happens. So there's some variables that are hard to kind of predict at this point, but there's a handful of ones that have a really good chance, and then there's a number of other ones that will be crossing the path and will have a good chance at a good view, but there's a few that we've highlighted in some of our media posts that highlight those ones that we're really saying these are probably your best bets. So
okay, so flight path I know has to be determined kind of day of, right? Because it's weather dependent. So is the flight path going to be determined also by that totality path?
Our flight paths that we kind of have sketched out now are based more on what historically we have just between those city pairs, takes into consideration clear weather days and maybe bad weather days or air traffic control. Where we could see deviations will be if there's any air traffic control constraints, if there's any weather in the area. We're hoping for none of that, obviously. But Southwest will make every effort to try to keep us within that path for those flights that have been highlighted.
Do you think there's any chance, and has there been any talk of doing some zigzagging? Because I feel like if you're on one side of the plane, you might luck out, and if you're on the other side, you might see nothing at all. So do you think the pilots might do a little back and forth so that different people can see everything?
I think our pilots definitely want to, because they know a lot of the passengers on those flights are on those, not necessarily to go from Austin to Indy, but to see the eclipse itself. So yeah. Our flight crews, they want to. It'll really depend on what flexibility air traffic has. A lot of the air traffic will be down low for a lot of the general aviation, but even still the commercial aviation up at those higher altitudes. It'll just depend on what room we have up there, because we won't be the only ones asking to maybe get a second view and do a little turn. So.
And if you're not taken to the skies to get a unique view of the eclipse, meteorologist Will Haney has something you can do here on the ground to get a one-of-a-kind view.
Here's all you're going to need, and chances are you have it around the house. A cereal box, some aluminum foil, piece of paper, scissors, tape, and then a little push pin to poke a tiny little hole. Okay, step one, just trace the bottom of that cereal box. Really, any box works, by the way. Super complicated, I know. You're going to then take your scissors, cut out that little tracing. I'm going to grab my tape, make a little tape loopity-loop, tape that bad boy on the inside of my cereal box along the bottom. Here's the super tricky part. You're going to cut off the little corners of that box, leaving just that little tab where you can keep it closed. And then I'm going to grab my tape and tape that shut. Next, take that aluminum foil, cut out a little piece of it big enough to fit on one of the corners of your box, tape that on. I was really excited. And then grab your thumbtack and poke a little hole right in the middle of the foil. So on Eclipse Day, all you'll have to do is find the sun and stand with your back towards it and basically look through this opening. And what you're going to want to do is match up that little pinhole with the sun itself. So here's what it'll look like on the inside, a tiny little dot of light. But on the eclipse day, you'll actually see a projection of the eclipse, a little crescent shape as the moon tracks across the disk of the sun. Hopefully that was easy enough, and I hope you enjoy making yours at home. Now, of course, we just got to keep those fingers crossed for some sunshine come April 8th.
And we are getting closer and closer to beach season. And when you head out to catch some waves, you might notice something that looks a lot like a bubble bath. Meteorologist Emily Santom took to TikTok to explain what exactly all that foam is.
Check this out. All that foam you're seeing that looks like you just took a bubble bath is actually sea foam. So the ocean is filled with many different organisms like artificial and organic matter, disintegrated salts, dead algae, and much more. This is also why you see bubbles on the ocean surface when the waves crash. Now, when it comes to the sea foam you see here, it's also formed this way, but much more larger scale. When that organic matter found in the seawater is repeatedly churned up, it can create a thick and foamy soap appearance, like you can see here in the ocean.
And as we head to break, let's soar over beaches of South Carolina.
Happy Monday, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sarah Converse. Across the Midwest, we're looking at a very active pattern as a stationary front remains over the Midwest. So rain showers and thunderstorms possible, and that threat for severe weather from Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, even into Ohio, where we're looking at winds, hail, and isolated tornadoes. It still is going to be wet as that low pressure system starts to track into Missouri and Illinois. So rain showers and thunderstorms will be possible again.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region, and the big story today is the severe weather threat. Enhanced risk from portions of Oklahoma towards northern Arkansas, slight risk reaching down towards the DFW Metroplex, and then a marginal risk all the way down towards San Antonio. So we'll see thunderstorms developing later on this afternoon and this evening. Some of these could be strong and severe. All hazards of severe weather are possible: large hail, damaging winds, and a few isolated tornadoes, especially from North Texas into Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson, and here's what's happening across the West. We have warming temperatures from the Pacific Northwest with the high pressure in place. Lots of warm weather here, above normal by several degrees. But further to the south, we have an upper level low pressure that's spinning in a lot of rainfall, tracking from Southern California into Arizona, and some heavy mountain snow across Utah, Colorado, and even parts of New Mexico. That's the scene from here.
Presented by the National Weather Desk.
Weekend hail in Ohio, some of it fell steady, while in other places it started light and gradually bigger pieces started plopping to the ground and into this pool. In Utah, a different type of frozen precipitation, snow, piled up on this railing, blanketing the ground and settling on tree branches near Spring City. And this eagle takes in the snowy landscape near Reno.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
You're probably familiar with rainbows, but how about a moonbow? Meteorologist Kit Alexander shows us what they are and how they form.
Folks in Washington County, Virginia, and Johnson County, Tennessee were treated to a rare sight as a moonbow or lunar rainbow was shining bright over the late evening sky. The moonbow forms in a similar way to a rainbow. As the moon reflects light towards Earth's atmosphere, it refracts through tiny droplets of rain and moisture. The light will separate at varying angles in the water drop, forming different colors. Thank you, Colleen Bowman and April Stout, for sending these chime-in photos.
And we'd love to share your weather content on air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search at the National Weather Desk or National Weather Desk, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Mark Pena. Make it a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.